bruh, bruh, bruh.
It's rubbish attempt at creating a factual acronym Tuesday.
Oh, it's happening, people. It's finally happening. I'm going to review a game that's been on the docket, long time. This is Undertale, released in 2015 by Toby Fox, who made the game, created this vast world, made all the musics, is the reason why you can no longer stand Megalovania, or the very idea of it, because your children have played it to death. Yes, this game. Anyway, Undertale is a hard one to pin down, except for the fact, what I have as a benefit in this review is the fact that you all have already played it. And here I am finally playing it for the first time, almost a decade after it came out. But seriously, like, the game bills itself as the RPG where you don't have to destroy anyone, but yeah, it doesn't play like your normal RPG that you've ever played at any other time in your entire life. More than anything else, I would file this game under the experiential category of games, which is, they provide you an experience more than anything else. I'm thinking games like Journey or Gris, where the point is not fragging enemies, but enjoying your journey through a vast, interesting world. And yeah, as my guide through my first playthrough, I have my children who have played this game to death, and who have also played Deltarune, the sequel, or the prequel, or the wherever that fits in, I don't know yet, and have seen and are explaining to me every little bit of, Undertale or Deltarune lore ever in the world of ever. They have seen all the memes, they have explained them to me in detail, and it's finally time for me to get a sense for what they've been talking about this whole time. Anyway, so my children insisted that my first playthrough be a pacifist run, because in a pacifist run you don't kill anyone. And the reason why they told me please don't kill anyone on your first playthrough is because two things. Number one, that there are things that you will not see in game unless you choose pacifist your first time out. That's just the way that goes. And so you have to choose pacifist your first time. Otherwise, there are things you will never see. I mean, I guess you could uninstall the game, reinstall it, and then play it again for the first time that way, and then choose pacifist, and then you'll finally get to see the things that you didn't see the first time. But whatever. Yeah. The point is that, like, choices really matter in this game. There are a lot of games that say choices matter, and there are games where it's really, really true. Mass Effect 2. Your choices literally determine who lives and who dies, in that game. And, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, those games, yeah, your choices matter in terms of, are you going toward the light side or the dark side? Yeah, there are games where choices matter. But, like, this one, your choices matter a whole bunch, and it's not always apparent how they will matter or why they would matter. And they matter not just in terms of your current run, but in terms of future runs as well, because your current run affects your future run and the options that you have available to you. And that is why when you do your first run, it is recommended that you go pacifist, that you not kill everybody, because you will not have the opportunity to do that in the same way again. Because once you've started making choices about killing people, then, you're always going to have to deal with having made that choice later on down the road. Anyway, it's an interesting monkey in that regard, because it intends for you to play it again multiple times over, and for you to make different choices each time to see what the outcomes of those choices are, because there are a wide range of outcomes. And this game has, like, it has so many things in it. And I will get to all of that in a bit, but there's so many things inside it, so many different gameplay styles, and so many different approaches to gaming within a single game, that it's crazy that they mishmashed, the Toby Fox, the single developer and creator of this entire game and this entire world and this entire it's a series now because Deltarune exists, and I guess I'll have to play that at some point as well too. But regardless, the fact is that this thing is a world unto itself, you know, and it is kind of hard to describe. But I will take a crack with my limited knowledge of having only played partway through the game. But basically, you wake up underground, and a kindly monster. Well, we'll see, because nothing is as it seems in this game. Well, I suppose some things are as they seem, but it's hard to tell. Anyway, so basically, you wake up underground and you are a human. You are known to be a human. And the monsters live underground. Why do they live underground? Well, there was a war with the humans. The monsters were driven underground. The reason the monsters were driven underground is because they are inferior to humans, in that humans have souls. But also because humans have souls, that is their great weakness, because if a monster can ever trap a human soul, which is really, really, really hard for them to do, and they haven't done it up to this point, but they're hoping to trap your soul, which is why so many things are coming after you from the get-go in the game. But they are coming after you because they want your soul, because they realize that if a monster has a human soul, it basically becomes unstoppable. So that's kind of underlying the game itself, but also there's a lot more to it than that. That's just, I mean, you get that information in the opening credits, more or less. So yeah, that's kind of the world in which the game is taking place. And the really interesting thing about it is how many varieties of gameplay they fit into this simplistic looking game, because this game looks like CGA type graphics. It looks like early computer gaming. It really, really does. And that is intentional, and that is beautiful and wonderful, and thank you for doing so. I love it when a game makes a correct nod to a former era of gaming. You know, it's so delightful when a game makes a nod and that nod is correctly done, where they are accurate in their recreation of a former art style in the history of gaming. Just beautiful when they can do that. And they did it super well here. And so, yeah, you wouldn't expect too much looking at the game, because you could literally see this thing playing on a 386. I mean, honestly, that's what it looks like. That's what it feels like. But then you get under the hood and there's so much going on, because not only do the choices matter and whatnot, but there are multiple gameplay styles within the game. There is point and click type stuff where you can point and click on a wide variety of things, and it really does feel a little bit point and clickish in a way, especially when you're doing the world exploration, which you really, really should do. You should literally leave no stone unturned. And you should definitely go behind every tree, behind every bush, and like hit the interact button and see what happens. And so, because you will be surprised. And also, you're going to need to do that because there are a lot of puzzles. And so there's a fair bit of puzzle solving. Now, granted, some of the puzzles are very simple and straightforward. Some of the puzzles are more difficult, but there's a ton of puzzle solving within the game. And there are bullet hell battles. Every battle with anyone is a bullet hell. You're going to see me flee a lot of battles because I'm trying not to kill anyone, so fleeing is an obvious choice. But sometimes you can't flee, and so you're going to have to, figure out what the characters need. There are these two dogs who are basically guard dogs, and they smell you and ask you to identify your smell. And yeah, you have to roll around in the snow in order to disguise your scent. And then they think you're some sort of lost puppy. And then you have to interact with them until they are satisfied. And you have to choose the correct order of operations in the interactions that you make with them, so that they are both satisfied and will both leave you alone, assuming that you are some sort of weird puppy. That's how you get through in a pacifist choice. Now, if you wanted to attack them, well, good luck. I mean, their attack is kind of brutal, but yeah, you could attack them if you so desired. And That's the thing that I'm going to do on a future playthrough, where I'm going to just eviscerate everyone that comes into my path and just be like, die, everyone, die. Yeah. Because that is also a necessary type of run that you need to do, where you try to kill everyone, and you'll see the effects of that as well. So, yeah, there's just a ton here. And it's hard to even really describe everything that there is, and it's hard to even really describe what it's like to play. This is one of those games where, very similar to Zelda. I remember watching a friend of mine play Legend of Zelda for the first time, and I was lost. I was like, what is this? Why are you doing this? I don't understand what's happening. And even worse would have been a game like Dragon Warrior, which is actually more comparable because there is turn-based RPG. It's not as much action RPG. It's more turn-based RPG, if this is an RPG at all, which I don't know that it is in the truest sense. But then again, I don't know what it is if it's not that. How do you even classify it? It's kind of a loner and a tweener and a multiple things all at the same time type of game, which is crazy, absolutely nuts. And so how to even encapsulate what it is to play this, because in watching my friend play Legend of Zelda, I did not get the appeal because there was no second player, and so I'm just sitting there watching him, wishing there was a Luigi turn, and there never was. So the whole time I'm just like, what's the point of this game? Where's the fun in it? I don't see it. I don't understand it. And I can understand how, if you were on the outside looking in on this game, as you are right now, if you've played it, you're like, oh yeah, this brings back memories. If you haven't played it, which is, that would be surprising, you've had more time than me. No, you've had the same amount of time as me, and I'm only just now playing it. I can't make you feel bad for not having played it yet. But like, if you haven't played it yet, I can understand you looking at this and being like, wait, what? It's a what now? What kind of a game? And the answer is yes, all of the above. So yeah, it's hard to describe because the ultimate point of the game is experiential. And you're going to have an experience. You're going to go into a crazy world of monsters, and you're going to see things and understand things. And it's unlike just about anything I have ever seen. And that's the appeal, because so often we get locked in these things where it's like, I can watch gameplay footage of FPSs now and be like, I have no idea which one this is. Because they've all gotten so similar. And the skill required to play any one of them is the same skill required to play all of them. And so if you become good at one of them, you can become good essentially at all of them because they seem so very similar. And the same is true for a lot of things. I mean, your roll on the ground to avoid the monstrous monster type RPG. Yeah, your Souls likes. Yeah, they're all super duper similar. Yes, I roll on the ground to avoid the hits, and I get in the hits in the few places where I can, and I just do this boss battle for a solid half hour and hope that I don't die at any point. Yep, got it. Cool. Yeah, games, like, it's become this thing where it's like, hate to say it, but the same thing is happening to gaming that is happening to movies and TV and everything else. Like, try to find me a movie that is not a sequel or a reboot, right? And try and find me a Broadway show that is not based off of a known successful book or movie. And try to find me a video game that's not a sequel or a reboot of a previously successful franchise, or that is not essentially the same as the other games that came before it in a lot of ways. And maybe it'll add one or two interesting wrinkles, and then that's it. So many things are getting so similar, and this game is so dissimilar from all the other things. And that's why it appeals the way it does. So, final score-wise, I'm going to give this game a 10 out of a possible 10 Sir Grams from King's Quest 1, because I've never seen a game like this with this kind of replayability, with this kind of, rabid fan base. People who love this so much. And I get it. I understand it. And I'm sure I'll understand even more as my gameplay continues. Anyway, people, that's going to do it for this one. I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.